G'day and welcome to another video. In today's lesson we will learn how to make this very pretty granny square. It is 3D as it has the stonems in the middle and then the beautiful flower and the granny square behind. It is all made in one piece and the flower can also be made separately. I think this would make a very pretty brooch if it was made separately. This pattern was designed by Daisy Jones. So a massive thank you for Daisy for letting us make this pattern. It is so pretty. And you can make these in excellent colours. You could use scrap colours for the middle and use your main colour for your square. So in today's lesson we will follow along with the pattern. There are 2 pages to our pattern and it is very well written as well. We've got all the materials that we need here. It says we need a 4mm crochet hook and 8-ply yarn, but if you'd like to use worsted weight with a 5.5 or an eye hook, you are more than welcome to. You'll need scissors and a darning needle, and then we've got all the terms that are used throughout the pattern. It is in US terms and the skill level is advanced beginner. So it has all the written instructions there. So it is written in shorthand, so it says back loop chain 4, 4 trebles chain 4, so it's all written in shorthand, but because we have up here what each thing means, it is easy to understand. So I'm going to work along with the pattern. So thank you once again to Daisy for allowing us to make this beautiful granny square. So we're going to need a crochet hook. I am going to be using 8-ply yarn, which is the same as double knit in the UK or equivalent to sports weight in the US. I'm going to be using a 4mm crochet hook. You could use a size G if you didn't have a 4mm. Pair of sharp scissors and your sewing needle. So grabbing your first colour, I am going to make one that matches this one. So I'm grabbing my light pink. It says make a slip knot and chain 4, slip stitch into the first chain from the hook to form a ring. You could also use a magic ring for that process, but I'm going to follow the pattern. So we're going to make a chain 4. So we want to make our slip knot. And I'm going to put a link in the box below the video. And that will give you the link to go and get the free pattern. So you can go and download your own to follow along with. So making your slip knot, there are plenty of different ways to do this. We're going to chain 4. And slip stitch into the first chain from the hook to form a ring. So going into the first chain with a slip stitch. Round 1. Chain 2, and in brackets it says counts as first half double crochet. So it's chain 2. Working over our loose end, which is here, we are going to work 15 half double crochets into the ring and slip stitch to the top of the chain 2, and altogether we will have 16 half double crochets. So for finding the centre of our ring, or you're going to be working into your magic ring, we're going to yarn over, go into the hook, into the centre of the ring, pull up a loop. You've got 3 on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. I'll show you one more time. Yarn over going to the centre, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. And I'm working over the little tail that we've got here. So that's just laying on top of the circle like that. So what I do is I put in a whole heap of stitches and then I count them. It just saves losing count. So we want to work 15 half double crochets because our chain 2 counts as our first stitch, and that will give us 16 half double crochets altogether. So I have 12 so far, including my chain 2. If you need to, you can grab hold of this one, just pull it around a bit. Okay, so I think that's number 16. I'm going to double check. So I've got 15 half double crochets and a chain 2. So that's exactly what we need. And it says slip stitch to the top of the chain 2. So finding your chain 2 from the beginning, going to go into the second chain of the chain 2 and work a slip stitch. Round 2. Slip stitch in the next, and on the pattern it says in the next FL. If you go up to the top of the pattern where it's got all the terms, the FL is your front loop. So slip stitch into the next front loop. So when you're looking at your crochet work, you'll have 2 loops on the top. Normally we go through both loops when we work our crochet. That is your back loop because it's at the back, and this is the front loop because it's at the front. So we're here and our next front loop is there. So we're working a slip stitch into the next front loop. So go under the front loop, yarn over, pull through, and pull through for a slip stitch. Chain 6, slip stitch into the same front loop. So going back down, finding the front loop that we worked in, we're going to slip stitch into that loop. Whoops. And then it's got a star and it says slip stitch into the next front loop, chain 6, slip stitch in the same loop. And it says repeat from star to star until you have 16 chain 6 loops. So where the star is, that first star, we're going to repeat from there until we get to the next star. So the first star says, where the first star is, it says slip stitch into the next front loop. So finding the next front loop, work a slip stitch, chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, slip stitch in the same loop. So going back down and working a slip stitch. And then there's a star, and it says repeat from star to star. So go back to the first star, slip stitch into the next front loop, finding the next front loop, slip stitch, chain 6, slip stitch into the same stitch. Okay, so we're going to repeat this all the way around. We slip stitch to the next one, we chain 6, and then we slip stitch back to the same one. Okay, so you only slip stitch when you want to move over to the next one. So after you've finished your chain 6, then we slip stitch over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Slip stitch into the same loop. And slip stitch into the next one. Work your chain 6. Slip stitch into the same one, and we're going to repeat this all the way around. We are onto our last chain 6, and this will be the number 16th chain 6 loop that we've made. So we're going to slip stitch back down in the same stitch, and then we can finish off. So cutting your yarn, make a chain 1 and pull through. This can make a cute little flower just by itself, couldn't it? Put a little button or something in the middle. I think that'd look adorable. Now if you've got your tail hanging out at the end that we worked over, pull that nice and tight and your hole will close up a bit. There we go. And you're going to grab your needle, wherever it's gone, and we can just sew in the ends there. And because we've already worked over our tail, you know it's been worked in pretty well, so you won't have to sew it in too much. Cutting our yarn. And working this one as well. Because you want to do your ends as you go, because believe me, it's not much fun doing the ends all at the end of a project. So I'm actually going to sew this into the front because we're going to be using the back of the project in a minute. So I'm just going to go under these loops here. There you go. That looks very cute. Alrighty, so what's next? It's on the pattern it says, before we begin, I will refer to the 2 different petals as 4 and 6. They will be worked in the back loops. The petals will be squashed together. So this is the front of our work. If we turn it over, we have the back loops that we didn't work into on the front row. So what we want to do, so it refers to 4 and 6. Now I can actually show you because I've already made one. The 4 petals will have 4 stitches in them. See, there's 4 stitches. And the 6 petals that Daisy refers to is this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're going to have a big petal and then a small petal. And it's not until the end of the pattern that we arrange it, and it looks really cute. So when you're working, it's going to look a bit odd and be squashed up, but that's fine because it's going to go like that until we rearrange it at the end. So grabbing our next colour, what am I using? I'm using grey. So grabbing your grey, and grabbing your flower. Row 3 says, take your new colour and slip stitch in any of the back loop. So changing it over. Any back loop, so I'm going to pick you. Oops, so we've got to hold it up that way. I'm going to go into the back loop. Going to grab my new yarn we're just going to slip stitch, so we're just going to pull that through, get rid of our tail, holding like that. What we want to do is have the front of the flower facing us. Sorry about that. Yeah, the front of the flower is facing us because we're working in the same direction as we was with the flower. And it says to chain 4, so just pulling down tight on the yarn at the back, chain 4, so it's 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 trebles, and a treble is wrap your yarn twice, and we're working into the back loop for the whole petal. So we've yarned over twice, go into the same back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, you've got 4 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, you've got 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, you've got 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, and that is a treble crochet, and we need 4 of these all together. So yarn over twice, or wrap your hook twice, however you want to say it, go into the same back loop, yarn over, pull up a stitch, 4 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So we need 4 of these all together, not including this first part there, that's our chains. 4 of those, so we need to go yarn over twice, go into the back loop, pull through 2, yarn over twice, go into the loop, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. Alright, so we need 4 all together, so it's wrapping twice and working our stitch. Then it says chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and slip stitch all in the same back loop, so it's going back down to that same stitch, working a slip stitch. And there we have, so in brackets on the pattern it says you have just made petal 6. Okay, so when we refer to petal 6, that is what we are referring to, because we have 6 stitches, the chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 trebles, and a chain 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the next section is making our number 4 petal, what is referred to number 4. So slip stitch into the next back loop. So this can get a little bit hard to see, so we're just going to push all these little fellas out the way and find the next back loop. We've just worked into here, and the next one along is here. And what do we need to do? We need to slip stitch. So work that slip stitch. And now we're working on the 4 petal. So we want to chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4. 2 trebles this time, so all into the same back loop. As you can see, these ones want to get in on the act. Get out of the way. So that was our 2 trebles. And the next bit is chain 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. And slip stitch all into the same back loop. So going back down to the same back loop and working a slip stitch. Ooh, go, there we go. Let's show you now. So that was our petal 4, and on the pattern it says you have just made petal 4. Because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches all together. It says continue working a group of 6 and 4 petals until you have 8 of each flower petals, and then slip stitch in the beginning of the first front loop and finish off. So what we need to do is alternate between the 6 petal and the 4 petal. So because we just did a 4, we need to do a 6. So I'll show you how to do 6 again. So I want to slip stitch into the next back loop. This is really hard to show you on camera. It's here. I'm hoping that when you look at your own work it's going to stand out a lot more than it does on the camera. Your back loops are going to be this little ridge that's... Where's my needle? See how this is a little ridge that works its way around? With the vacant loops, that's where we're working into. So slip stitch in there. And we're working a 6 because we just did a 4. So chain 4. And work treble into the same back loop. So we're working 4 trebles all together. Oops. So after you've done your 4 trebles, chain 4, and then slip stitch back down into the same stitch. So we need to work a smaller one, so it's the 4 petal, because we've just did a big one. And as you go along, the more you get on there, it's a little bit harder to find the next stitch. So slip stitch into there, chain 4, 2 trebles into that same back loop. Chain 4, and slip stitch back down into that same stitch. Okay, and we're going to continue doing that the whole way around. Don't forget you need to slip stitch over to start your next petal. So you're going to alternate between the 6 and the 4 all the way around until we get back to the beginning. So don't panic if your flower's all sort of, well, all squished, because that's perfectly fine. It's when we get and we sort them all out that it looks a lot better. It will turn into a beautiful flower, don't worry. So I've just got a few more petals to finish off, but I just wanted to show you what mine was looking like so you don't go, uh-oh, what have I done wrong? But yeah, as you can see, it's all squished up, but that's perfectly fine. Alrighty, so I wasn't going to show you that last bit because you won't be able to see what I'm doing because we've got all these petals in the way. But I've just slip stitched down as normal. So we did our chain 4 in our last petal and then slip stitched down into the back loop. And now we can finish off. So I'm just going to cut off some yarn. I'm going to work a chain 1 and then just pull out my yarn. So as you can see, it's looking a bit funny, but that's fine because that's what it's going to look like, because you're going to squash all those petals in there, so that's what's going to happen. Don't worry, it's going to turn beautiful in a minute. So we're just going to get rid of these ends and sew them in. You've got all these stitches here we can go under, so we can use those. Cut that off. Oh, these scissors are going blunt. These are my older ones, I've got new ones, which I'll use in my crochet bag. Alrighty. So we're going to the second pattern, second page of the pattern, sorry. Excuse me while I just organise that. You would finish your flower part. If you don't want to add it to a granny square, you can make a great brooch. I recommend covering the back of the flower with felt before you add the brooch pin to it. So you just cut a circle of felt and then just hot glue it on the back if you want to. You could stitch it on, but hot glue works just as well. But this is for the granny square. So, oh, you still got this one there. Let's get rid of this one before we do anything. I'm going to bring it to the back and then sew it in. So yeah, like Daisy says, you can make these into brooches and you could attach them to anything, or you could attach it to a hat. I think these would look adorable on a hat. You could put them on a bag. It's really endless. If you wanted to make a really big flower, you could use 2 strands of yarn at the same time and make this pattern. That would give you a nice big beautiful flower. Of course, if you want to make it smaller, you use thinner yarn and a smaller hook. If you're going to use 2 strands of yarn, you'd need a bigger hook as well. Okay. It says round 1. You need to have the flower facing you when working this pattern. So we are having the centre bit. It's all going to be facing us. We're not going to be looking at the back. We're going to be looking at the front. I suggest you pull the petals down so you can see what you're doing. Excuse me. With your third colour, slip stitch under the back loops in the middle of the flower. See the photo below. Now I can see the photo. I've actually made this pattern, so I know what I'm doing. My photo's in black and white, so you can't really see it properly. So I won't show you that. So we need our third colour, so get rid of the grey. I love this hot pink. I'm not a pink person, but the hot pink I really like. So I'm a hot pink person, but not a baby pink person. Alrighty, so what does it say again? Slip stitch under the bottom back loops in the middle of the flower. Okay, so flip it to the back and grab the petal. We're going to find the center stitch. So we've got two center stitches, and what we're going to do is down here you've got these loops. Can't really see because they're all the same colour. See if I can pick them up. See how you got the loops that attach to the row when you've worked your crochet? And what you're going to do is find the 2 center stitches. So this is a big loop, a big petal, so we've got the 2 middle ones. So the 2 middle ones, you're going to grab the 2 loops that are there. We're going to grab our yarn and attach that on. I'm just going to do a chain and then pull down on the strand, the odd end, just to pull it in tight. So we want to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip the next petal, which will be number 4. So working along, you'll have number 4, so that's your small one. So we don't want that one. Let's go along until we find the next big one. So it's here. And slip stitch into the next middle 2 loops of the flower. Or the petal, sorry. Flower petal. So I'm going to try and explain this. So we've worked into the big 6 there. We've skipped the 4. We're finding our 6. Please excuse that noise in the background if you can hear it. We've got the 2 stitches there. We're going to go down with our 2 stitches. This is harder to show on camera than you'd think. And we're going to find the 2 loops. This is really hard to do. I'm trying to keep it in the camera. Wait. Bear with me, people. Alright, so 2 loops. And there's 2 loops down here. Oh god, this is hard. Hang on, I'll be back in a sec. Alright, I'm back. I've figured out an easier way to do it. So this is our 6th petal. I've just squashed all those petals out the way because you need to see what I'm doing. And these 2 stitches here are the 2 centre ones of our petal 6. So grabbing the loops, this is the hardest part of the pattern, and it's really not that hard, it's just I'm making it look hard on camera. When you're actually off camera doing it, it's easy. It's just I've got to try and do it and keep it so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, so I've grabbed them 2 loops. I'll show you what I've grabbed. This is your 6th petal. The 2 centre stitches, I'm at the back of that, and I've got the 2 loops. So there's our 2 centre stitches. And I've just got the 2 loops that are down there. We're going to make a slip stitch. I'm so professional. Going to chain chain 5. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to skip the next small petal, which is the 4, and find our next 6. Push it over so we can see the back of it. And the 2 centre stitches are there. So, oops, so they're loops. Are here. I hope you guys can understand what I'm doing. Let's see if I can just, without crochet hook in the way, find the next big petal. This is the next big petal. Okay, so we've got the 2 centre stitches. 2 centre stitches here. Let's grab them. I'm making this look really hard. It's really not that hard. So the 2 loops that go down, see how there's a loop there and a loop there? You're going to put your crochet hook under the 2 loops. And that's where we're working into. I'm just making it look really, really hard. Alright, so we slip stitch, we need to work more chain 5s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Flipping it over, grabbing the 2 loops, this is not hard to do, it's just to show you where they are, and like actually where I'm going is a little bit harder. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, finding the next big one, and see how, like, I thought for a second I'd done 2 small ones in a row, but see how it's poked to the back? That's what you got to be careful of. So finding that big one. Talk about all thumbs, eh? 2 centre stitches are there. So it's the 2 loops that are there. Told you I'm making it look hard. Gonna slip stitch. I'm also sitting at a really awkward angle. You guys can't see this on the camera. 2, 3, 4, 5. But I'm sitting up and over my camera, so what you can like crochet normally, it's kind of sometimes hard to do. I look nice and natural on the camera, and that's all that counts. Nope, so that's not the right ones. Where are you? 2 petals. Alright, so you get the picture. You're going to go along finding all your big petals, finding the 2 loops. I'm going to do that next one off camera. Finding the 2 loops and then chaining 5. You're slip stitching into that the petals and chain 5, and you're going to end up with a heap of little loops at the back. And that's where we're working our granny square into. Please forgive me for that last part of the video. That was highly unprofessional. It's just a little bit harder to show you on camera than it could be actually in real life. If I had my way, I'd be everyone's houses showing you what to do. But I'm not a gazillionaire, so that's impossible. Alright, so keep going around, and how many loops are we supposed to have all together? We're going to have 8 chain 5 loops. Go with those 2 loops. Who thought 2 loops could cause so much trouble? Anyway, so I am back to the beginning, and we slip stitch in the first slip stitch of the chain 5. So go back where we slip stitched here, go into there, and then work a slip stitch. And this is what it's going to look like. Get over. It's going to look like that on the back. You're going to have all your loops. You should have 8 chain loops. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, yes, and yes. Excellent. Round 2, working in each chain 5 loop, we're going to slip stitch into the first chain 5 loop. So you want the front of your flower looking at you. We want to slip stitch into the chain 5 loop. So in the next chain 5 loop, we'll work a slip stitch, chain 3, 2 double crochets, so that's only wrapping once, 2 double crochets, that's 1, all into that chain 5 loop space, 2, chain 2, three double crochets into the chain 5 loop space. Don't worry about that bit, it's just my tail. So 3 double crochets in here. And this is the start of our granny square if you hadn't already guessed. So we've done that one, and then it says we've just created a corner. So see how we've got a corner there? That will be facing that way, and that will be the corner. Then it says chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next chain space. So go back to the back of it, find the next chain space, work 3 double crochets in the back there. 1, 2 and 3. Chain 1. In the next chain 5 loop we're going to work 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Chain 2 and 3 double crochets back into the same space because we're working our corner now. Just grabbing some yarn, sorry. Alrighty, so what we've done is created the corner, the first corner, then we've done our 3 double crochets, and then we've created our second corner. And if you've made a granny square before, this is going to make a lot of sense to you. You're going to find this really easy. If not, just follow along. So we're going to repeat that again. So we've got a corner, 3 double crochets, a corner. So now we need to do 3 double crochets. We need to chain 1. Three double crochets, chain 1, and next one's our corner. 1, 2, oops, 3. So it's chain 2 because we're working our corner space. So back into the same chain space, you're going to work 3 double crochets. So as you can see, I'm holding my petals forward so they don't get in the way. So that was the second corner of our granny square. Now if you find, and I'm actually following the pattern as it says, but when I personally do a granny square, I find when I do my chain 1, because my tension's really loose, it's pretty shocking actually. It's even, but it's loose. I find the chain 1 in between is too much for mine, and it makes my granny squares go out of shape. So I don't do the chain 1 there, and I only work a chain 1 in the corner. But if you have tight tension, chain 1's here and chain 2 in the corner is going to work perfectly for you, because that will give you that just that little extra room, and it'll make it lay nice and flat. So as we're working around, we need to remember to do our chain 1 chain 1 in between our 3 double crochets and then our chain 2 in the corner. So I've just done my chain 1. In our next chain loop, we are going to work 3 double crochets. We are going to work a chain 1, and in our next chain loop space we will work our corner. So it's 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets all into the same loop space. Chain 1, and we're almost up to the end. We're going to work into the space with 3 double crochets. Oops. Making sure you don't catch that next one. Chain 1, we're going to join to the top of the chain 3, so up here. What I like to do is try and grab that front loop, there we go, and the back loop. Pull that stitch through and slip stitch. So there we go, we have the first round of our granny square. So you could leave it like that if you want to make small granny squares, but we are going to go on with the next pattern, the next row, sorry, in the pattern, because that is what we are being told to do. So we're slip stitching in the next 2 stitches, and then also into the chain 2 space we work a slip stitch. And in our pattern it says chain 3, 2 double crochets into the same space. That's 1, 2, chain 2, 3 double crochets into that same chain space, into the next chain 1 space we will work 3 double crochets, sorry, forgive me, I've just got to pull those 3 stitches out. You have to put your chain 1 in there, then work 3 double crochets. Sorry about that, guys. I'm so used to not having that chain 1, but I'm forgetting to do it. Chain 1. We've got an extra space here, so we're going to work 3 double crochets into there. Chain 1. We're going to work into the next corner space here, so we work 3 double crochets. Chain 2, 3 double crochets back in that same space, chain 1. So we've got 2 spaces here, so we're going to work 3 double crochets into the first space, got my chain 1 again. Sorry, guys. Or did I? No, I didn't. Haha! I remembered. So I just pulled that out for nothing. Can't remember if I'm doing it or not now. Chain 1. Next space, 3 double crochets. Chain 1, coming up to another corner space, and we're going to work our corner, and then you're just going to repeat this around until you get back to the beginning. So it's 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 double crochets. And don't forget to put in that chain 1 and the chain 2 in the corner. Zoom out a bit. So there we go. You know how to work your corners now, and then into your spaces between here you're working your 3 double crochets separated by a chain 1. Starting to look really good. So I will catch up with you guys when we are up here. So I've just done my chain 1 and it's time to join into the top. So try to grab the front loop and the back loop, and then slip stitch. Now I don't know about you guys, but when I get hungry I cannot think straight. And I'm hungry at the moment, so that's why I was having a few mistakes there. So I chain 1 and I've cut my yarn already and just pulling out there. So guess what I'm going to do after this video? I'm going to have some lunch. So there we go, we are finished. Thank you for watching my video. Huge thank you to Daisy for allowing us to use her pattern to make this tutorial. I think this is an excellent pattern. It is very well written. It is such a pretty pattern as well. This flower granny square would look beautiful as a baby's blanket. You could make it in white with the pink flowers. I think that'll look really cute. So thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe to the channel as there are plenty more videos coming up. Don't forget to like and leave a comment below. Until next time, have a crochet.